here for Big Dog Labs. Today we're going to build a virtual development environment, or a virtual machine that we are going to develop Drupal sites in. A lot of people develop in a bunch of different ways. They install Drupal onto a server that they develop off of, or they use like the Acquia dev environment, which installs a little mini stack on your machine and starts going. I'm going to show you how to build a virtual machine that can run in the free Oracle VirtualBox program, which is just in a program much like the VMware server. What's really great about this is you have a whole computer that you're doing your Drupal development in. You can simply turn it off at the click of a mouse, and it's gone, and then bring it back when you want. All your work is kept in that virtual machine, and when you're done with a job, you can archive it off onto your server or your backup system somewhere. You could deliver the virtual machine on a DVD. It's a really great way to go. So what I've got open here is the Oracle VirtualBox Manager. We're going to go ahead and just create a new virtual machine using the wizard. We're going to name our machine Drupal Dev. It's going to be a Linux system, and we're going to be installing Ubuntu server. I like to give my machines a gig of RAM to run off of. There's 4 gigs on this machine. We're going to create a new hard disk image to do our development off of. We'll use dynamically expanding storage size. Fixed storage size is if you create a 10 gig disk, it creates a 10 gig disk image on your computer and takes up 10 gigs of space. I use dynamically expanding storage, which means it'll only expand to take up as much space as it needs. A Drupal dev environment, in the end, when I'm working on something, takes up maybe 1.5, 1.6 gigabytes of space, which means it'll fit onto a DVD. It can be delivered easily. It archives off quite nice. So I like to up it and give it 10 gigs of space to work off of. Once we're done, we're done. And I've created my virtual machine. Drupal Dev is powered off. I have to go back into settings and do a couple of things first. One of the big things I like to do is remove the floppy drive. Then one of the other things I do is I go into storage, and I have to connect the CD drive to a virtual disk file. I've got Ubuntu server install sitting right here on my desktop. I'll just select that. So now we're going to be, instead of when we're doing our install, instead of doing it off of a disk in a disk drive, we're going to do it off of the hard drive. So we do it for the full speed of the hard drive. For you wondering, this is an older machine. This is about a 4 or 5 year old MacBook Pro that I'm doing this off of. So this is not a spring chicken. It's a Core 2 Duo. It's about 2 gigahertz, I think. And it can run a development environment with absolutely no problems. And what's really great is this entire solution is free. There's no software licensing you have to do here. The VirtualBox is free, and of course the Ubuntu server is free to run. So now we're just going to start going through our standard Linux install screens. It's asking where we are. I'm not going to detect my keyboard. I'm just going to say, hey, use a default, which is a US keyboard. You can ask us to name the machine. We'll call it Drupal-Dev. Verify that yes, we are on America on the West Coast. It may say Los Angeles for the time zone, but as we all know, the Big Dog Labs secret location is, of course, kept a secret. We do not need to use LVM. We'll just use a guide and install the entire hard drive. There we go. Fine with what it wants to do. Write the changes to disk. And once it does that, it will start installing the main Drupal, or the main Ubuntu environment. Once it starts installing that main Ubuntu environment, it's going to take a little while. So we will skip ahead until to the point where the base system is done being installed. Now we're going to be setting up our usernames and passwords. For my usernames, I'm going to call this the local administrator. And the password will, the username will actually wind up being ladmin for local administrator. And then we need to give it a password. For our password, we'll use Drupal. So if you download this server image to just get a jump start on your own environment, yes, we know this is a weak password. We're not going to be putting this on the internet. Encrypt our home directory. No. Because core security is being set up very weak, because this is a virtual machine we're developing on our own machine, no need to worry about any of that stuff. We need to be very concerned that we don't take this image and then throw it up onto an internet server without going back in and changing that username, locking down the system a lot more. Again, the username is ladmin, the password is Drupal, and we will be putting this image up online for you to download and just have a jump start and start your own dev environment. Now it's going to have us select. I like to say, hey, install security updates automatically. We're not going to manage this with landscape because you have to pay Canonical for landscape management on a per machine basis. And now our software selection. Now everyone will think, hey, let's go ahead and install our LAMP stack. But as I said, there's going to be a second video in the series where we're going to actually go into the server and install all the pieces for Drupal to run off of. And I don't want to install any extra pieces, and the LAMP stack has other stuff to install. So what we're going to do is only install the OpenSSH server. We're installing that because that's what we can use to remote in and manage the machine. That way we can use our local terminal instead of using the terminal built into this. The final piece is going to install the Grub bootloader, so I can go ahead and click yes and say yes, go ahead and do it. This install process, while this video's been edited down, start to finish only takes 20 minutes. And that's on a fairly slow machine. If you're running a quad-core machine, Core i7, anything that's fairly new, your install time's going to be faster than mine. The other thing is I use very cheap, slow hard drives. These machines generally run the green drives at 5400 RPMs. So, again, a faster machine with faster hard drives would do this install a whole lot faster. But again, 20 minutes isn't long for setting up an entire computer. And again, now it's rebooting, and we should be right into our Unix environment pretty quickly. There we go. And there's our login. You can log in as ladmin. Again, our password is Drupal. And we are in our brand new Drupal development environment. Again, stay tuned for the second installment of this series, where we're going to take this machine and install everything required for running Drupal, including Drush. For those of you who haven't heard of Drush, you're in for a real treat. Drush will change the way you think about developing for Drupal. So until next time, I'm Mike Hathaway for the Big Dog Labs.
Some of the music provided from Mevo's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevo.com.